one of the things that you said was you were raised in a certain faith.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you were told certain things and you had to process those things. And then coming out of the other side, you had to make your own decision and say, hey, I'm going to take some time to figure out what I personally believe in.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to come back to you and say, I'm in this situation or this scenario. I have this belief system because I chose to believe it, not because someone else told me that I need to believe it.
Yeah.
So if you're comfortable, I'd love to talk about like that transition and the learnings from Christianity over to Muslim, and then just what the Muslim faith looks like for people who aren't familiar with it.
Yeah. And that, David, that's a beautiful question. To add some context, my family's super religious. As you know, my name is Moses. Brother's name is Christopher Gabriel. Dad's name, come on out, Samson. I'm not going to expose everybody. But anyway, hyper religious, right? Hyper religious. All those people that can be exposed. Everybody else is just silence. So anyway, super Christian background, super Christian. We were at church Sundays, Wednesdays, all day, every day. And I saw a lot of hypocrisy. Not to say that that doesn't exist in every religion, but in Christianity, I found a lot of it in the way that we were practicing it at the time. Like, it was much more face value than it was the actual act of being spiritual. And again, I don't think that accounts for all of Christianity. I just think it was, part of what we did at the time. I was not okay with that, right? So during this time, I went through, because it was the same people who were telling me, God loves you and telling me all these positive things that then were leading to very negative results. Like, I remember there was one time I was in church, somebody yelled at me for praying in my head.
You're not praying loud enough.
Bro, thank you. It's like,
God can't hear you.
Boom. God gave you breath. He must hear you use it. I was like, okay, I guess. So there were things like that that really led to just my confusion, straight up confusion. And then I would read the Bible and I would also get kind of confused. I would ask people and there wasn't a lot of explanation there. Excuse me. So I went searching for what I thought was truth. And I found first that there was no inherent truth, right? I found first that everything was subjective. I went through Buddhism, Taoism, not all the others, but a lot of other Eastern.
There's a lot of them. Existentialism, nihilism.
Bro, I went through those two.
Humanism.
Not for me. Existentialism is definitely not for me.
Time is ticking.
Bro, everything is useless and we're still losing it. No. So I couldn't do that one. But one, I found out that everything inherently did not mean what we thought it meant. Like, the idea of good and bad doesn't even really exist. It's an equation of our perception on the situation. If this place was to burn down now, us in here, we would say that's a bad situation. The insurance policy holder would say that's a great situation. See what I'm saying? So that right there doesn't exist. Then you think about, okay, the worth of things doesn't really exist outside of perception. So all these things that we're even trying to classify as good or bad or beneficial to me, not beneficial to me, hypocrisy, not hypocrisy, a good idea, not a good idea, none of that mattered. So then the question became, what am I looking for? I'm looking for constant, consistent peace, something that I can gravitate to, grab onto, leverage, use to orient my daily life, right? That was when I found Islam. And what's funny is I was dating a girl at the time who was Muslim, and she was interested in taking our relationship further, but she didn't want to do that unless I was Muslim. And at the time, I was like, girl, hell no. Because I'm not changing my religion because you told me to change my religion. Shortly after we broke up, I converted to Islam. So I'm sorry, miss. You missed it. You should have just waited. Anyway. But yeah, so Islam.
If she hears this, that would be crazy.
If you are listening, good for you. Your fault. What did Drake say? Her loss. Let's move on. Anywho.
Not the Drake quote.
Hey.
We can just go down her loss.
Anyway. Bro, the whole thing, Jumbotron shit is still popping.
Still popping.
Back outside, boys. I am. So just, please.
Where you in the middle of the ocean?
Bro, don't worry about it.
On a yacht?
Actually, we in Miami pretty soon. I'm saying. But, what were we saying?
Wow, we went on several tangents there, didn't we?
We did.
And so right now we're just going to keep talking until we figure out where we came from.
So, Islam.
Yep, Islam.
The reason why I converted to Islam was because I was looking for something to bring me constant and consistent peace. Islam did that easily, right? Because while you still have the traditional, issues with, people trying to dress flashy at the mosque, people trying to do this, that, and the third, really kind of big up and, live to show off, if you will, there's a lot more spirituality in the process, right? You're supposed to pray 5 times a day. You're supposed to wash specific parts of yourself 3 times before you pray. Each one of those times you have to pray in a certain direction. You're supposed to pray at a certain time. Or in a certain time window. So there's a lot of intentionality. There's a lot of discipline that's built into it. Even the procedure of praying, there's multiple steps in each prayer. And those steps are designed to calm you down, are designed to focus you, and then in that you're reciting something. So there's a lot of calm and consistency that comes out of this. Even now, whenever I find myself stressed, I'll go through the initial part of the Salah, which I don't even want to go through and say on all that right now, but like I'll say the prayers when I don't need to be praying. Like I'll start reciting du'as when I don't need to be doing that. Like I'll find it and a du'a is the latter part of the prayer. It's like the recitation that you choose for yourself, the thing that you want to say this is not a good description of it, but it's like the bolster part. It's like the personal part of the process, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I'll start saying certain du'as to myself, and that'll calm me down, or it'll help focus me. So everything so far about Islam has brought me consistent peace. It's something that I can pick up, not really put down. It's obviously a lifestyle, but like if I need to steady myself right now, I know exactly what I need to do, and it'll work every single time. Even though there's that cultural aspect and there's a whole bunch of other stuff to it as well, the practice of the religion of Islam is something that gives me consistent peace every single time. So that's why. Culture's a little different for sure.
That's really interesting to hear. And admittedly, I'm very ignorant on the topics of Muslim or Islam.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier where I just found it fascinating, like just connecting all the dots of Sonder and this idea of being in your own bubble, in your own silo growing up, of being told this is what you should believe in because of what we believe in.
Yeah.
And then eventually going out and seeing how expansive the world is, how many different ways of thinking, of being, of believing, of seeing, of experiencing, and then just having the mental courage and fortitude to say, with all these options that are available, this is the route that I choose to take.
Yeah.
Like I think that's
crazy.
That is just so fascinating.
I mean, when you describe it like that, damn, I'm impressed too. But